In this video, I'm going to outline how the conveyance tracker can be used to run the process more efficiently and smoothly for all parties involved in the conveyance. So as the vendor solicitor, you've received this email asking you if you are minded to use the conveyance tracker. We provided you with your sendmeon.com login details where you can go and log into the tracker itself. And then we're just asking you here if you are minded to use the tracker. If you're not, we would respectfully request that you click on the red button to let us know, and then we'll disable the tracker for this particular property. If you are minded to use the tracker, which we very much hope you are, click on the green button here. This will then bring you through to this particular property on the conveyance tracker. So that's what I'm going to do now. So when you log in for the first time, you'll see the interface here. So a couple of things we would ask you to consider doing straight away. One is updating your client funds account details. This just means that the client funds details are in the system and make it easy to share them with purchasers for the receipt of contract deposits, and then also with purchasers, solicitors for the receipt of contract deposit and ultimately the closing funds. So I've put in some dummy data there, but you'd be putting in your actual client fund details. And then terms and conditions, if you wish to upload your terms and conditions here, which I will do, we link to them then in your standardized letter of authority to act, which we will see later on in the video. So I've uploaded my terms and conditions here. If you are minded to promote your services on auctioneer.ie and myhome.ie, you can do that. You can come in here and click on configure services, and then input your details, create a profile, your office locations, the areas you serve, your fees, and submit the account for review. And then that will have your firm appearing on the myhome.ie and the auctioneer.ie conveyance trackers. So very quickly, just to look where that is on the My Home website, so the easiest way is probably go down to the footer, property conveyancing solicitors, and then you can search here and it'll bring up the various solicitors covering the area as well as their prices, and you can receive orders then through the marketplace, which will show up in here in your services tab. But the purpose of this video is to have a look at the conveyance tracker. So this is the property, and we're going to click through here, and we can see here straight away that we, as the vendor solicitor in this instance, have agreed to use the tracker. So we have clicked on the green button in the email to confirm that we will use it. The purchaser solicitor is yet to be determined. The property is still on the market, and that's the crucial part of this, is that we're trying to be as productive as we can while the property is on the market, such that when the property moves to sale agreed, all of the documentation is on hand. We're not waiting for deeds, or we're not having to draft contracts very quickly, many weeks post sale agreed. We're getting ahead of the curve, getting everything to hand, having it ready for when the property does move to sale agreed. So just to have a quick look through the interface here, you've got documents, which is where your client can share documents with you, and you can in turn share them with the purchaser solicitor when the time comes. You can request documents from your client if they haven't provided the documents that you require. If you're missing any, you can do a doc request there, and then you can send messages to your client and also to the purchaser solicitor or the vendor solicitor. If you're on the other side, it's a messaging function between your clients and your firm, and then also to the counterparty firm in the transaction. So at this point of the process, not much has happened. You haven't received your authority to act or authority to take up deeds. So we're pretty much waiting on your client to provide you with the authority to act and the authority to take up deeds, and then you can go and request the deeds. And that's the for a property that has a mortgage, that is the most important thing to be getting going at this point while the property is still for sale. So I'm going to pop a quick message in here. So I'm going to click new message, and then I'm going to send it to the vendor, and there's two vendors in this instance, there's a co-vendor, and I'm just going to pop in a quick message. So I've done a quick message here to my vendors asking them to sign the authority to take up deeds, and then they can actually sign the authority to act digitally. So I'm going to submit that. Back to dashboard. And as I said, there's not a huge amount more I can do at this point. I am reliant on my client to fulfill those particular tasks. So to that end, in the vendors interface, what they've been asked here now is to fill in an initial questionnaire with all of the initial information that you as the vendor solicitor are going to need in terms of drafting contracts, answering requisitions on title, and so forth. Okay, so the vendor has filled out all of the details here about the lending institution, it's property and negative equity. There's a whole questionnaire here. We haven't asked about alterations to the property, as in this instance it was an apartment that we were using, but if it wasn't, we would have asked about alterations or extensions, and if planning was required and if it's to hand and so forth, but that's not there for this particular example. So I'm going to confirm that now as the vendor. So we'll see here that it's from the vendor's point of view, it's gone to pending solicitor's review. So they have filled in the questionnaire. They must now confirm who are the owners of the property, and we've already done this. So in this instance, it's a James Rigney and a Maria Murphy. So we've asked them to confirm that and asked them if they have a PPS number, and if they don't, we're creating a task for them to go and get that now, not wait until sale agreed. So we're constantly trying to have everything to hand before sale agreed. And then you can see all of the various tasks that we've asked them to complete that we know that you're going to need them to do in order to effect the sale of the property. So authority to act and take up deeds, probably the most important ones at this point. So you might recall that I referred to the terms and conditions earlier, so that's why you want to upload those. So we'll accept the terms and conditions and we'll sign the authority to act. And then this is a templatized document where your client can sign the authority to act. And now authority to take up deeds here. So we need an original signature here. So we're asking the client to download, sign, and send back. So once they've downloaded, signed, and sent back, we've asked them to mark as signed and sent. And then from the vendor's point of view, they can be proceeding through to get their LPT, MUD Act documentation. As the vendor solicitor, we're going to need to upload the family home declaration for them to sign. We're going to need to get the letter from the council in terms of roads and services abutting the property, but the BER and PPS, and there's a few bits and pieces that the vendor can be getting on with at this point. As the vendor solicitor now, we can go and request the deeds, and on receipt of same draft contracts. So one thing I forgot to mention, you'll see that there's a message here that the vendor has received. So this was the message we sent earlier. So we'll just say, thanks John, working on same now. Could attach a file if I wanted to, so send. And now as the vendor solicitor, I'm getting an update. So I'll see I've got a message here, and I'm going to click through and read the message. I have all the correspondence in one place. But now I've got the authority to act and I've got authority to take up deeds, which is great. So I'm going to request the deeds from the lending institution, and on receipt of same. So I've received these now. I've received them back to the office, the authority to take up deeds. I'm going to receive there. So then I'm going to request the deeds from the bank, and once I've received, I can put here that I've requested them and let my client know, and once I've received them. Now I'm being asked, is it land registry or registry of deeds? Let's suppose it's registry of deeds, which will require a land registry compliant map. So that task has been created here, land registry compliant map, and I've asked our client to go and arrange that. In the meantime, I'm going to draft the contracts and requisitions on title. So usually uploading 2 documents here, so the standard terms and conditions and then the specials. I'm going to upload both now. So I've uploaded just again dummy documentation, but you would be uploading the actual contracts. So contracts are drafted, same with requisitions on title. So I've got my contracts done, I've my requisitions on title answered. I need to upload the family home declaration here for signature by my client. So I've uploaded that now, and my client needs to sign it and send it back to me. So pending vendor's signature. So I can get in contact with the council at this point and see if the roads and services abutting the property have been taken in charge. So let's go and get that done. And if so, I can upload the letter from the council. So again, the most important thing is that we're requesting this while the property is for sale, not once it goes sale agreed, because it can take many weeks. So now that's uploaded. And I'm pretty much on top of things here. I just need to jump in the vendor questionnaire here. So you might recall at the start we asked them to fill in a questionnaire, so we can have a look through that, make sure we're happy with everything. If we're not, we could reject it and send it back with any additional questions. If we're happy with it, we can approve it. Okay, they've uploaded their proof of ID and proof of address, so I can go and have a look at that and assume everything's okay here. Again, if not, I could reject it and it'll be sent back to them with the reason as to why it was rejected, and then they can upload the correct file. So BER. So I'm not going to go through every step here. So at this point, I'm gathering all of my documents. You'll see here all of the documents are being gathered here, and they're all in one centralized hub. I can message my client as need be, and let's suppose there's a document that they haven't uploaded that I need. I can request the document, put in the name of the document and a bit of an instruction as to where they can go and get it, and they'll be able to action that and give it back to me, and I'll be able to approve it or reject it. But ultimately what I want to do is to make sure that well in advance of sale agreed that I've got all of the document, all green ticks along here. I've got all of my documentation to hand, almost as if we were putting the property up for auction, even though we're not, but to have everything to hand such that the minute the property goes sale agreed, we're then in a position to share all of the documentation across to the purchaser solicitor if they're minded to use the tracker. If they're not minded to use the tracker, you can hit the download all button, whereby you can just download all of the documents and then send across the ones that you want to send across, and then run the rest of the conveyance offline in the traditional manner from there. But if they're minded to use it, you can just tick the documents that you want to share, and then they can review the documents and raise their queries through the system, and you can answer them and message them, and ultimately arrange the closing date all in one centralized hub. So thanks very much for watching the video. If you have any queries on how to use any part of the tracker, or indeed any ideas on how to improve it, we'd be very enthusiastic to hear those. Thanks very much, and goodbye.